Hey, so in this video, I'm gonna be showing y'all how to actually light in Blender. I'm not gonna show you like, oh, I'm gonna teach you how to make this exact lighting. Nah, I'm gonna teach you how to light so you can do your own lighting and it looks good on every scene or render. So it applies to everything you do in Blender. Start off this video, make sure to subscribe and like this video, and I'm also gonna leave my Twitter and my Discord down below so you guys can check out my socials. And yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna show you guys the difference between all of these types of light so you know which one to use on each situation or when you're lighting something. So you always want to make ambient occlusion on and about 1 meter, screen space reflections on and refraction and bloom on most of the times. Make sure shadows, they are both on 1024, and film transparency, so you got a PNG image. I'm gonna use medium high contrast for this and AGX. Let's check out the lighting here. I'm gonna just add a plane to this and move this up. Okay, so we have a cube on a plane here. So we have a point light, which is light that lights just like a light bulb on every direction of the render. It's kind of a circle around your render of lighting. It's basically a light bulb for real life example. You can change the size here for a more smooth lighting rather than a more sharper lighting for light. So now we have a sun, which is a sun that will light every single part of your scene the same. So every single spot on your scene will be lighted the same thing if you use a sun. So you don't have to make a different lighting for every single part of your scene. Here, if you increase the angle, you get a softer shadow that the sun is casting, and you always enable contact shadows for suns so you have realistic shadows on your scenes. We have a spot area, a spotlight, which is kind of a concentrated light, just basically this. People usually have this in real life on a theater, where you have a spotlight for the person that is acting on the theater. Yeah, this is spotlight. We also have a area light, which is only lights, for example, from this angle here, from this forward. Area light never lights backwards to it, different from a point which lights every single area of the scene which that the point is. So yeah, now that you know different types of light you have in Blender, I'm going to teach you guys a little bit of volume so you guys do it on your scenes to get a more, for example, a fog on your scene. Just grab a prefab here from Fortnite porting, this one here, so I can show you guys how volume works. Okay, so to start off, go to shader editor, change object to world, and you have your background here and volume here on the world output. Some people just create a cube, just add a cube to their scene, make it big, and then change the object, new, and then volume, scatter, and then volume. So you add volume, but I don't like to do that because it's easier to see the render, the scene, and this affects the whole scene. That volume scatter, which is what I like to use, and put it to volume. Change the density to 0.001. For example, if you don't know what God rays is, I'm gonna show a picture of it on the video right there so you can see. I like to use spotlight for God rays, for example, in this window I'm about to use here. Make sure it's pointy here to the window where you have your God rays. So on Eevee, you have this settings on your light, which changes. For example, we have specular, which is kind of reflexes. The reflections you have that your lighting cast is diffuse, which is basically the main light reflection you have, and volume, which is what we want right now. So if you want just a volume like God rays, you put the 0 every diffuse and specular, and put the power of the light up. And as you can see here, we have some God rays on your scene. Just very cinematic. You can change the blue. You can use a spotlight. You can also use a point. That also works. Same thing, specular and diffuse to 0, and just up the power. And as I said, the point will light every single dimension that it is in, so you get this kind of a glow on your scene. But if you're inside here, you don't really see it. So like the point here, and yeah, you get the same result as a God ray. There's also another option if you want to use God rays, which is just grab a image on Google and make it PNG in Blender, but that's a topic for another video. So yeah, now let's get into lighting into a Fortnite character. Okay, so let me just select a random skin here so we can start the tutorial. I guess that's fine. So I'm using Fortnite porting to get my skins. If you don't know Fortnite porting, I'm gonna leave a link down below that made by Hogni, teaching you guys how to install and use this add-on. Okay, so to start off, we want to make sure on your, I'm gonna use Eevee for this tutorial. Just want to make sure ambient occlusion is on, and I like to leave it in 1. Blue, it actually only depending on your thumbnail, and screen space reflections and refraction. I'm gonna turn up shadows to 1024 pixels. For this tutorial, I'm gonna use filmic and medium high contrast. That's usually what I use on my thumbnails and renders. So yeah, I'm gonna teach you guys how to make a kind of a night lighting here, and then after I'm gonna teach you guys how to do a daylight one. So let's preview light here, make sure filmic and film and transparency it's enabled. So to start off for this night, I'm gonna make sure the color of the world is kind of a bluish. I'm gonna make it a bit darker because it's night. So to start off, I'm gonna add a point light to this. Just already telling you guys, this light source I mostly use, sometimes areas and suns as well, but points basically what I use more. Actually, let me get a different skin because the skin on this one is not good. Yeah, this looks fine. Also make sure you go for the light. Every single light you add in Blender, select the light, go to shadow and enable contact shadows, so you don't get this flat look to the light. So what I like to start is kind of my key light, because on lighting you have the 3-point light, which is the key light, the fill light, and the rim light. So I'm gonna start with my key light. For this, so it's like not really sharp, I like to increase the size so I get a more smooth lighting for the key light, so it's not that sharp. I like to get a little bit orange, and I duplicate it, or even I can just increase the power of this, something like this. I'm gonna duplicate this and make the size 0 how it was, and I'm gonna make more a little bit of the key light here. Just remember, this is what I like to do on my lighting and my renders, but you don't have to copy exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just teaching you guys some little settings you can use on your lighting so it looks better. Okay, so I think for my key light it's good. I'm gonna just duplicate it down here so we get a more full body lighting. Okay, so for the fill light, we're gonna get a little bit on the left here. I'm gonna just duplicate this use less power. And by the way, let me just add some custom distance to this. So for you guys that don't know what custom distance is, it's basically how far your light will reach on your render. Like less, like for example, look at this arm. You don't have much lighting in here, but if I up the custom distance, the light has reaches from a larger distance. This good for when you only want to affect a certain little area on your render and don't affect the rest of the environment of your render. So the fill light is just the same thing as this big key light here, but with less power, so you don't get this completely black shadows here. You can even get a little less here. Yeah, so I'm gonna get some quick rim lights here for you guys. Just like rim lights, some people use areas, some people use points, some people might use suns. I'm gonna use area for this. And by the way, the size on the area does the same exact thing as the size on the point. It makes kind of a more smooth aspect to the light, your light sources casting. For rim lights, I don't actually use contact shadows. I just lower the bias so I still get some shadows. But rim lights, I like to get a more complete light on the render so it reaches more space. So I like to resize on the x-axis here so it's a little bit more sharper on the rim light. I like to use kind of a light blue for rim lights because I think that works a little bit better. And so you get center, you can just look here, it covers up like about half of this, so I'm gonna cover about half of that. Okay, so this lighting looks pretty good for me. If you have, for example, on your scene some props that have some kind of emission and you can't really do a rim light for them, let me just grab a cube and we pretend it's gonna be a prop on our scene. Here, shader editor. Just add an emission shader to this so it casts light. And yeah, I do have bloom enabled. If you don't know what bloom is, to give this glow, the light casts on the render. Okay, let's just say this purple here. On a scene, every single prop that adds light to the scene, you need to add a rim light to your skin according to the prop, so the skin looks inside the environment. For these, I like to use a prop point, so I get a little bit more direct rim light. So for these, I prefer to use contact shadows, and let's just make a purple here, and not this here. Like for example, I think this looks fine because it's kind of distant, this object, so the rim light is not going to be as strong as if it was closer to the skin. And something as well, just think of the main color of your environment, because here I added kind of a orange tint to the light, but if you're like in the middle of the city which you have like a lot of colored lights, you might as well just add kind of a bluish light to it, so you can see here it looks kind of more night to the lighting. And you just change it according to your scene. For the fill light, you can also change, looks a bit more like scary and night lighting. For this, I just thought you guys some things about lighting. Remember to always contact shadows, and if you want a more smooth aspect to your lighting, make sure to use up the size or not. And if you up the size, make sure this line is not in the skin, so it doesn't look flat. Never let this bound touch the skin, so it doesn't look that flat. So yeah, now I'm gonna teach you guys how to make a daylight lighting. Okay, so for the daylight lighting, what we're gonna do is I always leave the world color to a little bit more bluish, or there's this HDRI pack by Blender, which I'll leave a link in the description. It's a Fortnite HDRIs, which you have like a Fortnite sky and a little bit more Fortnite-ish HDRI, so you add to your renders. But I'm gonna use just the default Blender world one for this one. I like to increase the strength, so when I add the sun here, which is what I'm gonna do, I always leave it kind of a 45 degrees here, 45 here, 0, 0, and minus 45 on the Z axis, so I have lighting coming from this direction here. And always, as I said, for every single light, make sure to turn on contact shadows. And for some skins that have a little hat, you might just want to make the angle a bit upwards, so you don't have that much shadows on the face of the skin. So make the color for this orange, and make the power, make it brighter. Yeah, I might as well just leave it like this for this skin. Okay, we got this. You can even leave it like this if you wish, something like this. And for same thing as the night sky, I'm gonna add a key light here with a bigger size, so I have a more smooth and more distance, so it doesn't reach the skin. And then always custom distance, so it doesn't affect the environment and only what I want it to affect. And orange color to it here, so let's just leave the light here. We get a nice key light, and always enable contact shadows. Move it up so it follows the sun. You here on the daylight, you don't really need to add a fill light because you already got the world here kind of doing that for you. And always rim lights are always good to add on your render. Let's just make the bias smaller, and same thing as the other one. I'm using point this time so you guys can see it. You get the same effect. Make it a bluish, and same thing for the other side. Yeah, basically for the daylight one is this. You never make the like really close to the skin. You have the face of the skin lighted too much, so always leave some space for the light on the renders so it doesn't look too much. You can check with other skins. Every skin has a different skin, so like you never want to make the same lighting for every single skin, and that's the problem with ready Lightrooms that people use, because it does not look the same for every skin, and you end up getting bad results for some skins and good results for different skins. So I'd say it's better if you make a different lighting for every skin, so it looks good in every single one. So yeah, daylight is this. I'm gonna teach you guys some little tips on Blender settings so you get a different result. So if you go down on this icon here, go to color management, you have contrast, which is basically contrast on the render. Some people leave it on, but I think it looks pretty flat with this. So there's very low, low, medium low. I usually leave it at medium high because not too much and it's not too less. and there's very high contrast. And there we also have view transform. There's standard, which is a more, how can I say this? Colors are more vibrant in this mode, and usually the skins have a yellow glow to it. You also have AGX, which is a more kind of a realistic light. You mainly use this for dark light rooms because you want a kind of a more realistic aspect to it, and the rest of these ones you don't use it because there's no need to. I usually use Filmic or AGX. Those are the main ones people use.